Have you ever had one of those moments where you just feel completely stuck,
Car, yeah.
caught between what you should do and maybe what you want to do, and knowing, well, any path forward is going to be tough?
Definitely. A real dilemma.
What if ancient wisdom actually offered a kind of shortcut through that? Not just thinking about it, but really spiritually.
Hmm.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into one of humanity's most, well, profound texts, the Bhagavad Gita.
It's foundational for so many.
Right, often seen as purely spiritual scripture, but as our listener will discover, it's incredibly practical too. A guide for navigating life, really, for anyone looking for clarity.
Purpose. And our mission here, really, is to pull out the key insights from different ways of looking at the Gita. We want to explore the core ideas, the self, action.
What it all means.
Exactly. And connect it all back to the human experience we all share. We want to show how this ancient conversation, this dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna, can actually light up your own path towards understanding, maybe even liberation.
Yeah, and we've looked at quite a few sources. We've got Bhagavad Gita as it is, Gita, the Bhagavad Gita. Trying to give you a really rounded perspective here.
A solid base.
Okay, let's dive in. Let's get to the heart of it.
Let's do it.
So, the whole thing starts on a battlefield. Kurukshetra. Picture this. Arjuna, he's this amazing warrior, totally celebrated.
Top of his game.
Yeah. But he looks across the battlefield, and who does he see? Not just enemies. It's his family, his teachers, his friends.
People he loves and respects.
Exactly. And he's just overwhelmed, grief, compassion, it all hits him. He basically says, how can anything good come from killing my own family? I don't want victory or a kingdom or happiness if this is the cost.
It's a complete breakdown.
Totally. He actually throws down his bow and arrows, just stops. It's this huge personal crisis, right?
Yeah.
Facing an impossible choice.
And what he's feeling there, Arjuna, on the battlefield, it's really a powerful reflection of something universal, anxiety. The text itself says, everyone is full of anxieties because of this material existence. Arjuna's first reaction, want to quit, not fight.
Yeah.
That comes from identifying himself only with his body, his relationships.
Yeah.
What the Gita calls bodily demands.
Ah, okay.
The whole point of the Gita really is to sort of wake us up from that, from this material entanglement that causes so much worry. It forces us to ask, well, how do we deal with these deep anxieties when everything feels like it's falling apart?
So Krishna steps in, and his first move is, well, it's pretty radical, a total shift in perspective.
It is.
He introduces this idea that the body, the physical thing, it's temporary, it decays. But the real you, the living entity, the soul, that's eternal, indestructible.
Can't be harmed?
Right. He even says, he who thinks the living entity is the slayer or that he is slain does not understand. It's like you're fundamentally misunderstanding reality if you think that.
And that's the breakthrough, isn't it? Understanding yourself to soul, not just body. It gives you this incredible buffer, almost, against loss, against change.
Yeah.
A buffer. I like that.
It completely reframes things. It can reduce that anxiety, change your whole sense of purpose no matter what's happening around you. The soul is described as tiny, unbelievably small, but so powerful that no material weapon can touch it. This eternal, blissful nature, Sakshidananda is the term.
Right.
It's in such sharp contrast to our bodies, which the Gita says are asset, not eternal, full of ignorance, suffering. For Arjuna, the warrior, the Kshatriya, grasping this was key to understanding his duty. But for all of us, it's about knowing our true, unchanging essence.
And as Arjuna takes this in, his view of Krishna changes too. He starts to accept him as Para Brahma, the ultimate reality, supreme, purifier.
He sees him differently.
Yeah, and he even references these great sages like Narada, Vyasa, saying they understood this too.
And this is where Krishna isn't just the charioteer anymore. He's revealed as the ultimate controller, the driver, you could say, behind everything, the whole cosmos.
The big picture, the biggest picture, yeah. He's called the greatest of all, the source, but also somehow intimately connected to every single living being. And the text stresses, really getting this. It takes more than just intellect. It requires a kind of submissive spirit, a devotional attitude.
So not just analyzing it.
Right. The idea is there's this guiding intelligence, this higher power, and understanding our relationship to it. That changes everything.
Okay, so the Gita lays out these 5 basic subjects, right?
Yeah.
There's the supreme divine, us individual beings, material nature, time, and our actions.
The components of reality,
And
essentially.
it clearly positions the Supreme as the ultimate controller. It says, material nature is not independent. She is acting under the directions of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah, and that gives us such a profound insight into our own place. We, as living entities, jivas, we're described as parts and parcels of that supreme controller.
Like little sparks from the fire.
Something like that. We have qualities like consciousness, will, but just a tiny fraction of the Supreme's capacity. And that explains our tendency, to want to lord it over material nature.
Trying to control everything.
Exactly. Trying to conquer space, control the planet. But the Gita says, hold on. While we're superior to inert matter, we're superior prakriti, both us and nature. Inferior prakriti are ultimately under higher control.
So we're not totally independent.
We're not the supreme controller. Understanding that nuance helps us avoid that false sense of independence and hopefully align ourselves better with how things actually are.
Okay, so if that's the setup, the nature of reality, our place in it, what do we do? How should we act?
Right, the practical application.
Krishna's advice is pretty clear. Perform your prescribed duty, for action is better than inaction. He even says you can't maintain your body without work. And the core idea is karma yoga.
Action in yoga.
But it's not just doing things, right? It's acting without being attached to the results.
Exactly. And that's the really deep insight of karma yoga. It's not just grit your teeth and do your duty. It's about a kind of freedom.
Freedom, how so?
Freedom in action. You put in your full effort, you do what needs doing, but you mentally detach from the outcome. Whether you succeed or fail by worldly standards, that doesn't define you or derail you.
Ah, okay, so you're not on that emotional roller coaster.
Precisely. It lets you act for a higher purpose, not just for what you get out of it. The Gita actually calls people who only work for the fruits, the results, misers, because they get tangled up, trapped by their own desires and fears about the outcome.
Misers. That's strong.
It is. True karma yoga means acting consciously for the satisfaction of the divine or for the greater good, which lifts the action itself above the usual reactions of good and bad karma. It's called the art, kaushalam, in action.
The art of action.
Yeah. So even Arjuna's difficult duty, fighting. When done with this mindset, for Krishna, it becomes perfect action, liberating action.
And connected to this idea of action, there's yanja, sacrifice. Our sources mention satisfying demigods, celestial beings who act as supplying agents.
Right, that's part of the Vedic framework the Gita operates within. But the beauty of the yaja concept in the Gita goes deeper.
Okay.
The underlying principle is that the world's prosperity, its balance, doesn't just depend on our individual hustle. It relies on a larger cosmic system, guided by the Supreme.
So our actions contribute to that balance.
Exactly. While specific yajnas might be directed towards different aspects of nature or different demigods, maybe for rain, health, whatever the Gita clarifies, that ultimately all are offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Ah, it all goes to the same source.
It does. It's about understanding that interconnectedness. Conscious, selfless action performed as a kind of offering helps maintain that universal balance and purifies our own consciousness, leading us closer to the divine.
The Gita also talks about these three modes or qualities that influence everything. Sattva, rajas, tamas, goodness, passion, ignorance.
Yes, the three gunas. They're fundamental to understanding how material nature works and how it conditions us.
Conditions us how?
Well, think about it. Sattva, goodness, that's like clarity, peace, knowledge, feeling balanced. When you're in that state, you make better choices.
Okay.
Rajas, passion, that's the energy of action, ambition, desire. It drives us. But it can also lead to restlessness, greed, frustration if things don't go our way.
I recognize that one.
We all do. And tamas, ignorance, that's inertia, laziness, delusion, darkness. Feeling stuck, confused, destructive even. These modes are constantly shifting, influencing our thoughts, our actions, even where we might end up in future lives, according to the text.
And this applies to faith, too.
Absolutely. The Gita says our faith, our shraddha, also takes on the color of these modes. People in goodness tend to worship divine figures associated with harmony and light, like the demigods, or ultimately Krishna Vishnu.
And the others?
Those in passion might worship powerful figures, maybe demons or ambitious leaders, seeking power and success. And those in ignorance might be drawn to ghosts, spirits, darker forces, often out of fear or confusion.
So our inner state shapes who or what we're drawn to worship.
Precisely. It's not just what you believe, but the quality of your consciousness, the mode you're operating in, that shapes your spiritual path and the results you get. The ultimate aim, of course, is to transcend all three modes and reach pure goodness, Shuddha-sattva.
Which leads to the ultimate goal Krishna talks about. Liberation. Getting to a spiritual state where you don't have to take birth again in this material world.
Freedom from the cycle, moksha.
And he stresses how important it is to remember the divine, remember Krishna, right at the end of life. That's key to attaining that state.
It's crucial. And here's a really important takeaway on how to get there. The Gita presents Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, as the highest.
Higher than knowledge or meditation.
It's described as the most direct and actually the easiest way to connect to the Supreme. Now, paths of knowledge, jnana, and meditation, jnana, definitely exist and are valuable. But focusing the mind on the divine with love and service, bhakti, that's called the highest form of all yoga in the Gita.
So devotion is central.
It's central. It's through that unalloyed devotion, that deep personal connection and surrender, that one can truly attain the supreme personality of Godhead. It's not about blind faith, remember, but a conscious, loving relationship. The word matparat comes up, meaning being completely surrendered, taking refuge in the Supreme. It's called the very essence of the Gita's teaching.
But Arjuna, he brings up a point that feels so real, so human. He says basically, Krishna, this sounds great, but the mind, it's restless, turbulent, strong, stubborn. Trying to control it feels impossible, like trying to catch the wind.
Yeah, it's such a relatable moment. Who hasn't felt that?
Exactly.
And Krishna doesn't dismiss it. He acknowledges it. Yes, he says, the mind is undoubtedly restless and difficult to curb. But then he adds the crucial part. But it can be controlled.
Okay, how?
By practice, abhyasa, and by detachment, vairagya. Consistent effort and letting go of attachments. He compares a controlled mind to a lamp flame in a windless place, steady, calm, unwavering.
Nice image.
And the best practice, constantly engaging the mind in Krishna consciousness, thinking of the divine, chanting, serving, consciously pulling the mind back from just chasing sense pleasures, controlling the senses. That initial decision, that resolution to really try and rein in the senses, that's presented as the first vital step for anyone serious about finding inner peace.
So if someone manages this, if they reach this state of divine consciousness, what do they actually look like? How do they act in the world?
That's a great question. The Gita paints a picture of this man of understanding, this pure devotee. They act with their mind and intelligence fully controlled. They give up that sense of this is mine about possessions. They act just with the necessities of life.
Sounds very simple in a way.
Simple, but profound. This person is never disturbed, no matter what happens. They're not envious. They're kind to everyone, even enemies.
Wow. Even enemies.
Yeah, free from false ego that I'm the center of everything feeling. They're balanced in happiness and distress, tolerant, satisfied with whatever comes their way, seeing it as great.
I don't get caught up in arguments.
Not swayed by false argument, the text says. They depend entirely on the Supreme Lord. Now, this state is rare, obviously.
Sure.
But it's achievable, the Gita says, by consistently following the regulated principles of devotional service. And that allows them to act powerfully, like Arjuna deciding to fight, but without generating negative karmic reactions, because the motive is pure.
So going back to the battlefield setting, it seems clear pretty quickly that while it starts with a physical war, Krishna is teaching about something much deeper.
Oh, absolutely. The physical war becomes a metaphor almost immediately for the real war. The Gita explains that the true battle, the one that requires total and unswerving contemplation, is the internal one. Against the throng of unrighteous impulses. Desire, anger, attraction, repulsion, greed. These are the real enemies, the forces that create attachment to the world and cause suffering.
Ah, so the battlefield is inside us.
Exactly. To fight and overcome these negative impulses is war. It's a battle waged in the mind, in meditation, step by step, rooting out those demoniacal alien impulses, as one translation puts it. This completely reframes war from bloodshed to this inner struggle for self-mastery, for spiritual growth, a struggle we're all engaged in, really.
And throughout the Gita, there's mention of Om, that sacred syllable. Krishna even says, I am the sacred syllable Om. What's the significance there?
Om is huge. It's not just a sound. It's presented as a sonic representation of the Supreme Being. Along with Tat and Sat, it's one of the primary names or indicators of the absolute truth.
So chanting it is important.
It's considered a prime necessity for devotees. It signifies that the divine is all-pervading, the underlying reality of everything. And beyond Om, the Bhagavad Gita itself is presented as uniquely authoritative.
How so?
It's positioned as the perfect scripture, even called the true Manusmriti, in one commentary, suggesting it supersedes other texts because it's the direct word of the Supreme Lord, Krishna himself. It's seen as providing this perfect, complete knowledge that our limited, defective senses and minds couldn't figure out on their own, the ultimate
Mhm.
guide.
Wow. Okay, so we've journeyed through quite a lot here. From Arjuna's despair on the battlefield
Right back at the
to
top.
these really deep insights about who we are, the eternal self, not just the body, the nature of the Supreme, and what it really means to act in the world through karma yoga and devotion.
Finding purpose in action.
Yeah. We've seen how this ancient dialogue offers not just philosophy, but real practical guidance for living with purpose, maybe freer from anxiety, by acting with that spirit of detached conscious service.
So the question then becomes, for you listening,
Yeah.
what does all this mean for you personally? Think about your own Kurukshetra.
Hmm.
You know, those internal battles, the pressures you face, the moments of doubt, the tough decisions. How might things change if you tried to embrace some of these principles? Selfless action, devotion, understanding yourself as something more than just the temporary body and mind. How might that reshape your approach?
It's a powerful question to reflect on. The Gita invites us, as you said earlier, to approach it with a submissive spirit, being open. We really hope this deep dive has given you some fresh perspectives, maybe sparked an interest to explore this incredible text more on your own.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this really enlightening journey today.